proper goal setting will take us far, but what are the things that we should pay attention to when we are setting up goals? Watch the video to find out. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Well, let's talk about goal setting. So setting up goals is actually one of the most key things that we can do, not only for our business, but our personal life. So here I'm actually going to define like 21 questions to ask. So 21 questions to use for an extraordinary goal setting. And I actually would say that it's one of the most important things and one of the key factors that we did together with my business partner Victor in order to get quickly results, because goals are something that really got us focused and not only get us busy in doing a lot of stuff, but sometimes it might happen that we are super busy but we are not just doing the things that we should be doing, so we actually end up wasting a lot of time. So for us is that when we got pretty extreme about this goal setting early on, pretty much from day one, then it really made us possible to really constantly analyze that, are we actually doing the right things? Are we focused on the right things? And the retrospective was like excellent tool for that. So that's why we are sharing this weekly planning system for you to use. So that's something that everyone simply has to do. Just do it, or if you are not doing it, then you're going to suffer the consequences. So I guarantee that if you do it, you will get results faster, period. But there's actually two types of goal setting that we need to consider. So first one is this work task focus, because there's something that we have to be doing every single day, and there are different tasks and there are different like projects that we are doing for our business. So that's why we have this like weekly planning system. So every week together with our team, and it doesn't matter if it's just you and your best business partner. Like when Victor and I started, it was just me and him, and we did this weekly planning like every single week. So we defined those goals for next week, and then at the end of the week we had this like review session. We reviewed that did we achieve the things, and then specifically we had retrospective, which meant that we did some self-reflection that are these really the smartest thing, and what can we actually improve next week, and then we set up those goals for next week. And besides that, we do have there is like daily prioritization, and pretty much every evening you should be thinking that, okay, what is the number one thing I should be doing tomorrow? What is the biggest thing that I will do tomorrow in order to move the needle? But yeah, besides these weekly goals, in our business, we also have these OKR, so objectives and key results. And typically we are just going to be focused on quarterly. And okay, we are not doing any quarter finance analysis or whatever. No, the point is just because 90-day period is good enough period in that sense that it's not too short, that we can actually mess up a few weeks here and there, and we are not going to be losing on track. And then it's not too long either, because for 90 days it's pretty easy to stay focused. But if we would have longer than that, like 6 months, then it's really easy to lose focus every day. And if you're just doing like monthly, then that's fine, but it's going to be a bit overkill if you're doing just monthly and quarterly and so on. So that's the thing that we should be focused on with our business, and really, we have to, writing good kind of goals, it's a skill set like any. So that's something that we just develop and just get better at it. And I can tell that when you get new people, when you actually get like people working for you, that's something that you need to teach them as well, like how to really do good goals. And then we actually have more personal focused, and that's that's what I'm going to be focusing here right now. So, I mean, we need to ask ourselves that, okay, what are actually things that we want to achieve in life? And if we don't define it, then it's not going to happen. Like, good luck with that. And if we don't specify these things, then if we do not specify this goal, then it's just going to be remain a dream. It's just going to be this pipe dream, and we are thinking, oh, okay, one day I will have this and that, and one day I will spend more time with my family. One day I will just travel more, and boom, maybe something happens and interrupts our plan. So that's why we really need to be focused on things. But yeah, I mean, since the business is pretty much our business, then I mean, we definitely need to have like goals for our business as well. So I mean, for us, like business owners, entrepreneurs, these goals are pretty much mixed, right? Like we have certain goals for our personal life, but we also have like some kind of goals for our business as well. And this is one thing that I've been doing for years, and it's really good. I mean, this Brian Tracy technique, and I've been talking about it in different presentations. So, I mean, I can just do like one page overview. So it just means that you get this kind of black book, kind of like a diary. So a physical diary with that you actually use with like pen and paper. So, I mean, you specify max 10 goals, and the key thing here is that it's not a time planner, so it's not like 1 year goals or 5 year goals. I mean, just write whatever you want there, but it's the point is just to make you focused and constantly analyze, are these the things? So it's not really about time, but key thing is really writing it in the present tense. So, I mean, let's say that we are starting from scratch, and one of our goals is to build this 7-figure Amazon FBA business. Okay, fine. Then we just write, I have a 7-figure Amazon FBA business. And what the key thing here is that we write these goals every single day to a blank page. I mean, with a pen and paper, without referring to the previous page. And why do we need to do that? Why cannot we just look at, okay, what did we write yesterday? Because if we have to like memorize this, then we are going to be asking ourselves, yeah, what was it that I had? What kind of goals did I have? Yeah, it was this. And then maybe a week goes by, and you start thinking that actually this doesn't make sense. I need to rephrase it in a bit more, or maybe sometime later that I mean, this is such a silly goal. I mean, I don't even want to have this, so you actually change it. So that means that you're going to come up with this like 10 goals that you actually really want to do. And then imagine how powerful it is when you write these goals like every single day to a piece of paper, to a blank piece of paper. And then, I mean, what is going to happen is that usually like the first thing in the morning, I'm just going to, the first thing in the morning, the first thought in the morning are these goals that I actually like write there. And then secondly, the last thing I think about before I fall asleep, it will be these goals. And if I wake up during the night, I'm just going to be thinking about these goals. So this is extremely powerful in making yourself like fixated on specific things, and really start you really start thinking also that is this really something that I want to achieve? And okay, so I'm telling myself that this is really number one thing. Okay, cool. So what can I actually do about this? How can I make it my reality? So it really makes you focused on the big picture. But yeah, so let's just go deeper to these questions regarding goals. And I mean, yeah, it also always has to be focused on the outcome. So, I mean, why is it that we want to have this thing? Because the more clear we are about it, and the more specific then actually the easier it will be to execute it. Because if we have something really vague, then it's just going to confuse us. And probably, I mean, the first set of goals that we are going to write, I mean, some of them probably will be vague, and some of them will be something that we don't actually want. But when we write those every single day, then we are just going to be refining, and we are going to be end up with something that we actually want to have. And yeah, I mean, they absolutely have to be with our values. So if we say that, okay, I mean, our family lives is really important for us, but then we don't write a single thing about our family, then come on, I mean, okay, it doesn't really make sense that if we have goals stating that, yeah, I mean, let's just work like 24/7 like crazy and neglecting our personal relations. So we need to align these goals with our inner and core values, and that will definitely make it more easier to achieve. So we can achieve goals that don't align with our values, but it's harder to do, and really it's going to be less satisfying. And I mean, it's super important that we set it up in positive. So I mean, okay, I want to have healthy lifestyle instead of just, no, I want to stop doing this or stop doing that. And yeah, I mean, SMART goals, I mean, that's pretty obvious. So it means specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. Yeah, I mean, if it's not specific, then it's difficult to figure out that what is it that we want to achieve. And if it's not measurable, then I mean, how do we know when we have actually achieved it? Otherwise, like, there's really, I mean, if we don't have that, if it's not measurable, then it's pretty lousy goal. And action-oriented, I mean, we have to be able to do something about it, because we shouldn't have goals like that are really dependent on other people to act in a certain way, because and then it's just going to be out of our reach, and we should really just focus on those things that are within our reach and those things that we can actually impact. Because if it's not, then it's just going to be we are just like it's really important that we just focus on things that we can actually change and things we can actually control. I mean, we can't control the weather, so it would be crazy to start actually having certain goals that we have zero. And I mean, realistic, it is achievable, but this is kind of like a bit of a kind of like a gray area, because we should have goals that will make us stretch. Because if we are not really, if we don't have goals that scare us, I mean, then they are not really ambitious enough. And why would we settle for less than what we can actually have? I mean, and typically there's this saying that, okay, I mean, we typically overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we completely underestimate what we can do in 3 to 5 years. So it's really important that we have these goals that will really like push ourselves and really stretch ourselves and really hold ourselves to a like higher standard, because that's how we can actually achieve greater things if we actually demand that from ourselves. And yeah, I mean, definitely there has to be some kind of a deadline. But yeah, I mean, we focus on the outcome. So what is it that we really want? And that's why this Brian Tracy technique is so good, because if you visit your goals, if you write down your goals like every single day, then we are just going to be thinking that, is this really something I want? And quite often is that, no, I mean, I don't want this. Why I'm actually writing this? I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. And what is the specific outcome that we are looking for? And what is the pain for us in not achieving this goal? So there's actually two things what makes people take action. I mean, the first thing is that if we really have this purpose, then that's going to be motivating us and in order to do something. But but if we don't have any kind of pain in our current situation, then there really is no urgency. Like otherwise, we're just going to be thinking that, yeah, we'll just do it one day, someday maybe. then we realize like half a year later that we have really like, yeah, we didn't do anything about this goal. Then we need to align with our values. So is this really what we vision for ourselves? And is it something that we see us actually like having like one day? So if it's not aligned with our vision, if it's not aligned with our values, then it doesn't really make sense, and the outcome is just going to be not going to be that good. So are those goals actually something that we genuinely want, or are they just something that we should have this or we should be doing? And we don't want to live our lives like fulfilling other people's dreams. No, we should be focused on our own goals, on our own dreams. So we just should like forget about like what other people want from us. No, it should be 100% that what is it that we actually want to have. And when we think about these goals, does it really give this sense of like deep contentment or like rightness, happiness, and excitement? Because those are the things that are going to give us this motivation to really just keep going, even though like things are not going as planned. And there will always be situations that we are going to be facing some kind of issues and challenges. And at those times, it's just too easy to quit, too easy to give up if it's not really something that we actually want to have. If it's not really something that is going to create excitement. And for the same reason, like it's much easier to build a brand based on something that you actually like, something that you actually have a passion for, something that you actually feel something for. Because if it's just some random brand for some random topics, then it's more difficult to feel connected with it. And it doesn't mean that we are not able to make it work. Of course we can make it work. And we also have brands that I have zero kind of like emotional connection with it. Like I don't even care about this niche, but then it just means that in order for me to like build this competitive advantage for that, then it just means that I'm just going to I need to do a lot more research and a lot more like effort in figuring it out. So it's just much more difficult than if it would be something that I would like generally like and generally be really interested about. And yeah, that's a good question. Like if you could have the goal right now, would you take it? And if our answer is no, then then okay, why do we have it as goals? So and what issues are there? So it's pretty crazy, right? And how does that goal actually fit into our lifestyle and life? So time, effort, commitments, who else might be impacted? And then let's start digging into different obstacles there are. So if we actually achieve it, then are we able to maintain it? So do we actually have complete power over achieving it? So that's the reason that why we shouldn't make goals that are like outside of our own area of influence, because we need, if it's like outside of it, then it's something that we actually cannot do something we got. Like if it's outside, then it means that we probably cannot do anything that can impact it, and that's really bad. So how will this change actually affect other aspects of our life if we do it? So what else do we need to deal with? And then what's good about our current situation? So what's the benefit of just staying right where we are, right now? So how can we actually keep those good factors while we are still making these changes? Because one key factor is that we need to have this like sustainable pace. Sure, when we set up a startup, we can pretty much work for like 24/7 if you want to. I mean, you're just working crazy and doing crazy hours, but I mean, it's just not going to be sustainable, and eventually we are just going to burn out. So we need to have this kind of like sustainable pace and such like working methods that we can just keep going for months and months and for years to come. So what might you have to give up or stop doing right now to attain this goal? So that means that what's the price of making this change? And are we willing to pay that price? I mean, there's a saying, was it Ziglar or whoever said that, I mean, it's pretty simple getting achieving whatever you want to have in life. I mean, first thing is just figure out what you want to have, and then figure out, I mean, what is the cost in achieving the goal. And then the next step is just, I mean, okay, just pay the price, pay the cost. And if we are not really willing to do that, then I mean, it's going to be pretty difficult in ever achieving it. And I mean, if there's something important around achieving this goal to help us succeed, or that could get in the way, I mean, what could it really be? What kind of obstacles there could be? And who will we have to be to achieve this goal? So, I mean, success is not really about some external factors or something that really happens to us. No, I mean, success is really who we are. And so I can give you example that, okay, who did I have to become in order to become like successful? I mean, that first of all required some changes in my working methods, like to become more productive and really to change my thinking as well. So I really had to make sure that I think like big enough, because if I'm just like playing small, like it's not really doing anyone any favors. So it's completely like waste of time. So that's a good question. So the goal that we have, I mean, is it the right size? And I mean, is it really big enough that we want to have? Or I mean, is it just too big, meaning that if it's just too big, then we just need to break it down into smaller goals. Or if it's just too small, then we need to fit into a larger goal. So I mean, for example, just think about these quarterly things like objectives and key results. Like if we have something there that just takes us a week to get it done, then I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, why do we even have it as a like quarterly goal? No, I mean, it should be, if it's quarterly, then it has to be big enough and then to really take a lot of effort and really big enough in order to move the needle as well. So it's good to give ourselves this goal range so we really can't fail to achieve it. And what would be the minimum or super easy level of goal to achieve? So sometimes it's good to do this. That, I mean, actually, this is one way that is used in the objectives and key results, that what, for example, Google is doing. So when they have these OKRs, then they define a range for this, kind of like traffic lights, where like yellow means that, okay, I mean, it was met at this acceptable level, but red means that, I mean, it was not met at all. And then green means that, I mean, it was met at least like exceeding the expectations. So that's one way what we can do. But the point is that we don't want to complicate things. We don't really want to have like complicated systems. So for example, what we are doing with the objectives and key results, I mean, it's still really simple. And it's because, I mean, I can do a really complicated system, and if it's just me alone who's using it. But when I'm working with business partners, and when I'm working with like employees and teams, I mean, if I have a really complicated system, then they are going to have a hard time in using my system. So it's really important just to keep things as simple as possible. So what would be the target level of goal to achieve? And what would be the extraordinary level of goal to achieve? So meaning that, yellow is the target, then green is the extraordinary. And what resources do we already have to help us execute our goals? So we need to create a list. So support from other people, contacts, personal qualities, things, knowledge, skills, money, time, and so on. And whenever we have some kind of revenue goals, like let's say that we have a goal that, okay, we need to do sales of like over $10 million this year, like in 1 year. So that means that we need to break down that, okay, if our sales price is X, then that means that we need to sell this amount of units, which means that we need to put this amount of money into inventory, like during the whole year. And if we don't have those funds, then we need to figure out that, okay, what kind of what kind of budget actually do we have, and how are we able to meet our goals? Like, of course, like the business is paying for itself, but at the same time, there are sometimes periods that we can have just too much cash tied on the inventory, and maybe we already need to place new orders. So we need to figure out those things. And the bigger the business gets, the bigger the problems get as well. So money-wise, dealing with a small business, it's really simple, and we are not going to make huge mistakes. But when we have a bigger business, then we are going to be dealing with mistakes that could hurt us in terms of millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And pretty much even with 7-figure business, you will already meet these situations and challenges where this can happen. So what resources do we need to help us achieve the goal? We need to write these things down. So what is it that we need? So it's really important that we write these goals to inspire ourselves, but it's not really a system just to feel bad. And because if we feel bad about our goals, then for example, that we constantly keep failing our goals, then we just need to get smarter about it and really figure out that, okay, why have we failed on achieving our last the goals for this quarter or whatever? Why do we keep failing this? So are we having just unrealistic goals, or is there something else that's wrong, and what are the things that we can actually improve? If you like this topic, then hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to know more about this topic, then we actually have a closed group where we discuss these things. So if you would like to get access to this closed group, then comment group and we will reach out and add you there. See you at the group.